You're literally Frodo right now.
He's the hero ever.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 63 of the Gollum's Gamers podcast, where today we are doing another event review episode, and it's the Grand Prix tournament we'll be discussing today that happened a couple of weeks ago. You may have caught our preview episode that we did for this one, and as it was such a big event with 120 players in attendance, we thought we'd discuss some of the key takeaways from the event in this early stage of the new edition and how some of the guys got on over the weekend. Now, just had to kick things off here by saying that it's a very sad day for me here. I must say, I have filmed something like 100 podcasts in this very room, I believe. And tonight is the final one. I'm moving house. So this is it. This is the final, the memories, all the late nights.
Literally got everyone's hopes up that you leaving the pod then.
You thought I was just ending the entire...
Yeah.
Well, I'm moving house, moving on.
Well, it's a happy day, not a sad day.
It's a sad day to be, leaving behind the good times.
To be that room.
This is the spot, the pod spot. So Adam's got a new microphone. We're all fucking leveling up. Go on, Adam, show us your chunky...
Well, I think the best thing about this is because I've got the blur on, it's going to look like maybe something it isn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
The YouTube viewers are really getting their money's worth tonight.
Unfortunately, that's not blurring. Oh, it is. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
There you go.
It is indeed a microphone.
I'll leave that to your imagination, people.
Yeah, it is a microphone, we can assure you. Moving house. So next pod, I'll be somewhere different. But so for the Spotify listeners, though, tonight I'm joined by Ali, Ben, and Adam. As always, you can find us on Instagram and Spotify by following the links in the description down below. And if you do enjoy all of the MESBG content that we make, then please do remember to subscribe to us here on YouTube. The majority of you who watch are not subscribed. So please do remember to subscribe if you enjoy everything that we do here. So I guess we should maybe kick things off. Now, Vince was meant to be joining us here tonight, but Vince is not here, unfortunately. He's had a last-second emergency. So by looking back to the tier list we did at the very end of the preview episode, as we had some takes on certain people in the tier list. So I was really hoping Vince would be here so we can have we could revisit that. But he is not here. But I guess I should hand over to him, shouldn't I? To Mr. Ali King so he can talk endlessly.
Would you like to remind the viewers and the listeners what was said?
I mean, it was you and Elliot who...
I was there, but I can't remember. See, Ali
I think actually was the one who came up with the phrase of, well, it's not it really, is it?
It's not what?
It's not it. It's not going to really...
Well, Adam, you were there as well, though. You were on that episode.
No, but I asked the question, so...
You were acting like I thought you weren't there, but you were there as well.
I've completely forgotten. That's why I've asked the question.
That's what I have as well. Yeah. It was weeks ago.
So to cut to the chase, I think my list got rated the lowest out of all of the Gollum's gamers who submitted a list.
I submitted a list.
Oh yeah, but you weren't going.
Fine.
You're very mean about me and my dwarves. You're like, there's not really much going on.
Because you never do very well with your dwarves, so
So yeah, basically, I finished third at the event. So screw you, Vince. Screw you, Adam.
Yeah.
Did I say it was poor?
Yeah.
I mean, we did rate it top of nervous, Adam. We can't really get away from that. Let's.
No, you rated it bottom of nervous, didn't you?
No. I was mid.
Oh, if you take you out,
because
to be fair, I don't know where you put it exactly. I kind of switch off when I'm listening to you guys.
Well, you rated it.
No.
I was mid nervous, and then you were top of nervous, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced by it, honestly.
I mean, I took it more than I wanted to take it.
I'm just going to double down on my initial opinion.
You tell him.
I think it's the ultimate. I think it's an ultimate compliment, isn't it? Saying you've taken a pretty average list and you've come third.
It was under 30 models, folks. For those who didn't see the preview, it was 29 models, right?
Was it 21 or was it 27?
29, I got it.
I think it was 29.
It's
You got it.
29 models.
Stop trying to say it was 27 models, Ali.
I
We're
can't
already
remember,
gassing
to
you
be
up.
honest. I've had about three or four different versions of like the lists, and I can't remember which one I
All right,
sort of played in then.
just to remove any doubt from this conversation so people can actually follow what's going on. So Ali took um, Erebor reclaimed, 29 models, Thorin, three crossbows, some shield spears, a couple of Matics here and there just to fill in the points. You took Ori, Gloin, and a third crossbows, basically. You
So
took, do you take one banner? No.
no, we don't have a banner.
Oh, we didn't have a banner.
Right.
No.
You took Orcris, though.
Yeah.
Explain your choices.
So
Interesting.
Gloin, Thorin with Orcus and Ori. I mean, I knew they were going to be a hard-hitting killing machine, but like going into the weekend, there's not much that stops those guys because essentially you've got Thorin when he's getting three heroics when he's charging, getting +1 to wound as well, so he can blitz through people, and then Gloin with four attacks essentially when he's outnumbered, equally blitz through people, and then their ability to regenerate their might that they've used when they then can quite handily kill monsters and heroes on their own. Um, it was all theory, to be honest, at the beginning of the weekend, and it turned into quite a sort of theory played out exactly as I hoped it would do, and they just munched through stuff. So, like, I killed about three eagles across the weekend with them. There's like so many heroes I killed as well,
With the
like the
crossbows, did
double
you say?
teaming and
Or with the
stuff.
heroes?
Oh no, this was with the heroes.
Oh.
This at 600 points, there was only one list that I played that could stop them, which we can come on to later, which list that was. But they were the absolute murder machine. Like the numbers advantage quickly disappeared after two turns of them just killing between like 4 and 8 people just by
Was there
themselves.
not any situations where maybe to like shooting or something you lost a couple and then you were fairly outnumbered by the time you got to combat? Like say like
So
40 plus model lists, like an Arnor or something.
so there were sort of two types of lists that I played. There were ones which were like Battle of Five Armies or Battle of Four Knights, which were usually around my model count.
Yeah.
And they were often probably my easier wins because I was more resilient and more killy than them. They may have been more maneuverable or stuff like that. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, so those ones were, and then there's other types. So I've got scouts as well, um, which is, I don't know how many models, that's like 40 plus models. There was, I'm trying to remember now. Oh, I played like a Master of Isengard, which outnumbered me. The thing is, a lot of the lists that outnumbered me either couldn't outshoot me or I was just so dominant in combat that, like, just by being smart play, I guess, I could just sort of steamroll through them.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
How did
like,
you find leveraging the shooting? Because you took nine crossbows.
yeah, to be fair, the shooting in a lot of my games didn't make too much difference. Um, it was more denial and threat than actual kills. But but I would still take that many crossbows again in that list. I think just being able to have the threat. The main reason why I didn't use them so much is because where I didn't have the ban,
Yeah.
we played a lot of scenarios which ended up being banner scenarios, and it was kind of
Yeah.
like, cool, I'm just gonna go run up and kill them.
How
When
many
the
of the
crossbows
is it two of the six scenarios of banner VPs or is it three?
three,
Three.
Three.
three,
So that's
two score you
we
four
didn't
points and one scores you two.
we didn't actually touch on that in the preview episodes. So that's
Yeah.
a pretty big decision to not take a banner then.
Yeah. So what I kind of found is if I could just break my opponent, the banner VP, like if I win the scenario, the banner VPs were redundant, because you would basically overcome that VP diff. So you maybe don't get the bigger wins as
Yeah.
much as you
But
possibly
you
would
still
do,
eke out
but
wins.
you would still get the wins. Which, yeah, because I didn't lose a game because of banners, but it did influence how I had to play the game.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah. Well,
like back in the Just put it back in the cloth, it's one of the useful things that happened because I ended up playing Destroy the Supplies a few times. Is I could just drop free crossbows on like the supplies and stuff like
yeah.
that, and so they're just good as objective holders to
Yeah.
answer
Sure.
Adam's question.
Yeah. So I guess end of the day, we were incorrect slightly about Ali's list in the preview episode, somewhat. Okay,
So
fair enough.
I I will say I went into the event with the aim getting top eight, and I knew the list could probably do that because of the format of the event. Just to recap, because if you get into the top 16 after day one, you then go into sort of like a almost knockout style brackets thing. And I knew I could go through in one day one of that list. Or at least I'd back myself to, which
Yeah.
is what I did. And then you're kind of in a luck of the draw sort of situation.
You just want to
Day
make it
two.
into the top pod and then
Yeah,
see what happens. But you've got to get into that top pod by playing well day
yeah.
one. So that's what
So yeah,
everyone's trying to do basically at the event. So
yeah.
I guess to segue then from that, so to Ben. So Ben was at the event as well. Ben also had a strong finish, although he couldn't remember where he placed. He came sixth. And you were using a very interesting list that we touched on the preview as well. So did you just want to give a brief overview of just how your weekend went, what you thought of the event, your list, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I broke from my dwarvish roots and went and played Pajama Elves as a
You actually had some people say on the pre episode that they were hoping that we do a review episode to find out what happened and things. So there might be some people who went, "Oh, that's a funky list." So
yeah, it was funky. The troops did the work, really. Backed up by their buff hero, essentially Celeborn, and Celeborn's +1 to wound was really quite nice.
How did you find Celeborn?
Really useful, really useful, just because of that +1 to wound. It made people scared of him, scared of the army, and also he was able to continuously provide for these rather poor elves.
Yeah.
And it meant that whenever I met heroes, I was able to usually take them off the table the second they didn't roll a 6.
Sure.
So because you were able to surround them with just rubbish elves, essentially, you could just take off a big hero instantly. So they took off A&R in one turn. They took off a Glorfy from 3 wound, 3 fate. The second he didn't roll high enough to might up to a 6.
Yeah.
And they just one-shotted him, essentially.
Yeah.
So they're really key because you could two-hand, and I kind of was going into the attitude of, just two-hand a lot because why not? They're probably dying if they lose anyway, so I might as well two-hand and just see. But then the +2 to wound was really quite nice.
Yeah. Oh, I'm 5/5 +2.
Yeah. And I must have made use of that, the new rule with the two-hand, if you roll a 6, you keep it. That made a massive difference to the list. In the old edition, it would have fallen apart way before it did.
Yeah.
But that changed. So two-handed weapons was really, really nice for them. But yeah, that was really good. I had to play Destroy Supplies 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, and by the end of it, I was like, please don't make me play Destroyed Supplies. The other person's like, but I want to play it. We ended up having to play it again.
It was the veto, wasn't it? Where you had it was like the odd veto. How did that work again?
And so actually this is an interesting to talk about, I think. So for in the top 16 day 2, I can't remember if all of the pods did it or not.
Yeah, I think they did.
The way the veto worked is you both secretly noted down one of the scenarios. And if you both picked a different scenario that you were vetoing, you would play the one that didn't get vetoed. If you both ended up picking the same scenario to veto, you would play that scenario. Which basically, I know some tournaments internationally have done it before and stuff like that, but I personally really liked it. I don't know how much Ben or some of the others did, but you had like a little mind game thing at the start going. So you were purposely like trying to work out going, do I pick this like my own favorite scenario in the hope that they also pick it and then we play it? Or then do I so double bluffing, or do you go for your least favorite scenario, or then do you play like the sort of the middle scenario? So
you're like,
that's a really fun way of doing it.
Yeah. Because you're like, they're 100% going to pick recon. 100%. And then it's just, so.
I think it's the fairest way of vetoing.
Because otherwise it does just come down to the dice roll somewhat sometimes.
But I quite enjoyed it. It did make it quite interesting. I don't know if I got The one thing I did notice with my list is often there was one really bad scenario and one kind of bad scenario, and then one okay scenario in sort of day two in the matchup. So that was the weakness of my list, especially when I was playing higher model count lists. But usually I ended up playing sort of either the okay one or the not terrible one.
Yeah. So Ben, so you came sixth. So I mean, and then also within, say, the top like 15, there was a really wide spread of armies. Almost, I think every army within the top 15 was a different list. So we had the Depths of Moria, Army of the White Hand, Erebor Reclaimed in the top three. Then we had the Battle of Five Armies, Lurtz's Scouts, Ben with Lothlorien, Fangorn, the Shadows of Angmar, Rise of the Necromancer, Breaking of the Fellowship, the Black Gate, Fangorn again. That was the only one that actually featured twice. Arnor, Ugluk Scouts, and the Eagles. So that's 15 almost completely different lists, all in sort of the top 16 almost of the GBHL of GBHL 100 is something you quite rarely see, right? Especially last edition. There's a good variety of lists doing well at the moment, but is it just people trying to figure out sort of what's strong at the moment? People just trying out fun sort of lists? What do you think?
I think the lists are built into kind of three sort of ways. Although it's a wide spread, people seem to go, right, I'm going to go monster heavy, I'm going to go real numbers heavy, or I'm going to go with some smashy heroes, backed up by some solid troops that can hold whilst the heroes do the job. Would be my kind of take of what's happened.
But you've got like the swarm lists, so like Matt's Depths of Moria that won the event that we'll come on to. What else we got that's pretty like Arnor, the Scouts list.
The one that came second, Farmers list.
Oh yeah, of course, Army of the White Hand, then you've got the monsters, so the two Fangorns and the Eagles, and then you've got Ali's sort of list with the elite troops with some good heroes and things.
Basically 40 plus models, around 30 models, and then monsters.
Monsters, sure, fine. So
I think model count is still the most effective option across most of the lists to do well.
I think that's because of the 6 scenarios. All 6 of the scenarios require high model count, arguably maybe not to the death.
It doesn't hurt though.
Especially if you're going to get outshot.
So model count still worked well. I think a lot of it was some people picking lists they liked. I also do think that again, the top 16 was somewhat influenced by people going and knowing that they only need to win 3 and 1.
To get there.
So it's like the Ent list, even though Recon came up day one, it's there going for like I may lose Recon, but I can win the others. Or I can get lucky and I'll play one of the others. I think. Then the mid-sized list is kind of just a bit like me. It's kind of I think got a good pilot, you can beat the sort of without being rude, the lesser players with the higher model count lists. And then you can take part of the monsters list, so you can kind of beat both. You just maybe don't excel. And then the high model count do well, but also they can struggle against the monsters list because they don't necessarily have the tools to deal with.
And obviously, like in last edition, obviously looking at say 600-point events such as the GP last year, you didn't have to worry about running into those like monster sort of lists potentially. So what last year was the year of the Hunter Orc. That was when there was like 11 Azog's Hunters lists. Adam and I were 2 of those. You took Hunter Orcs, didn't you, Adam, as well to the GP?
I did, yeah. And then I went 3-0. I think I must have been pretty high up because I ended up playing against Jakob, who had his chariots.
The chariots, yeah.
And I looked at him and we just both started laughing. I was like, oh no. And he just ran me over.
You may have squished. Yeah, nice.
The one that because he bought a list designed to beat Hunter Orcs.
He won the event.
He did not stop smiling.
Just rolling dice. We actually got Jakob's Chariots on the GBHL finale live stream. Maybe you go check that out. Some...
He won half of those at the GBHL finale the year before.
You are?
He won half of those.
Oh, he
from the
won them,
GHL
yeah.
finale the year before.
Although he didn't roll over. He didn't run over much on the finale live stream, unfortunately. And he was playing against Goblins, but he didn't, unfortunately. But yeah, so last year, like, you didn't have to worry about running into those kind of monster lists. You know, it was things like Arnor and Hunter Orcs that did like super well.
I think there was also, I think, like, there was not, out of 120 players, there was not a single Dale player, which kind of caught us all off guard.
Look at Ben, he's so happy.
Everyone
Look
thought
at
I
this
was
man.
taking Dale. I got asked so many times, "Where's your Dale, Ben? Where's your Dale, Ben?" Oh,
Ben just turns up to his table with the receipt of when he bought all his Dale models, just the proof.
But I think it is the thing, is a lot of people don't own a Dale model. I don't know if all the models are available.
You don't count Ali because Matt owns one. That does not.
I actually own one as well. I just haven't built and painted it.
Oh, okay, fine. I was gonna. I own one as well.
But, no, because I was painting up as a painting project, and then I used it once, and then it did terribly last edition, and I don't like you anymore.
Is that like when you bought James's Army of Dunland and then used it like once?
I used it twice.
You are?
Got me 9th last year, like going into day 2. I only just missed out on the top 8.
Didn't you play one game with it though?
No, you're thinking Into the West, which I played 2 games with.
Oh, fine. Yeah, I was thinking it. Wait, what? You used Army of Dunland, the GP?
GP last year. I missed out on VP diff and getting in the top 8.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Oh, you used to 2 events then. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fine.
Straight.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Back on
back on topic. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so I think it was people don't really like, are just feeling the meta out. It's not established.
Yeah.
Like people using what they want, and also it's what's available and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the format, but it was quite interesting how many different armies are in the top 16.
Yeah. What do you think, Adam, on sort of the spread of things? Is it just too early at the moment? Sort of like, yeah, obviously it feels like we're sort of well into the new edition, but it's only been out a couple months. You know, we've had very few events at each sort of points level. Like, you know, we knew what was what at the end of the last edition because it had been out for so long, but obviously now it's just really not the case at all.
I think what we're seeing a lot more of is in the previous edition, you could scale lists better than you probably can now. So, for example, this year already there's been a 450, there's been like 800, I think 750, this was 600. I think there's been a fair mix. We could probably say there's been more lower points events, maybe. Yes. But I think overall there's been a mix, right? We
give a shout out to Will Champion though for making the Gates of Gondolin 1,000 points so that we could have a high point event. I might have just bought myself a ticket specifically for that reason.
No, and that's an opportunity to run something different, isn't it? Something like Last Alliance or 5 armies or something.
Or Elba reclaimed at larger point.
Yeah.
Or Ali just does the same thing.
Ben, you've moved off from dwarves.
Back to your
I'm having enough of my elves. I'm coming back to dwarves again. They're coming next weekend.
Good man.
Cool. Yeah, back to your question, Elliot.
No.
I think the fact that the top 15 lists were all different lists, weren't they?
Yeah, almost.
I think what that shows is that they've done a decent job playtesting. Even though there's very few lists in the game, if we think about it, the fact that there's 15 different ones at the top, I mean, that's incredible.
It contrasts though to
you would have thought the more lists there are, the more variety there would be.
Yeah, true, but then there's less.
So it seems like the opposite.
The more lists there are, though, the more chance you have of having a list or two, which is that much better than the others. So actually, with a smaller sample size, you can probably balance it easier than you can with a larger one.
There's also something that I need to point out, though, about Will's event. I've just remembered that in terms of the Eagles, because Will said Guahia's screech only applies for 3 inches, not 6. And I think that will have influenced.
Oh yeah, no, that was pretty.
That's something. Whilst we're just talking about lists and the spread, because Will had lessened that there were still the Eagles around, but there was probably less of them, and they weren't as powerful.
We actually talked about that on the
So just
that was but no, that's obviously valid to the conversation. But I get what Adam's sort of saying though. He's saying that like obviously if there's less levers for them to pull, then it's maybe harder to balance because you've got.
I actually think it's really impressive. The other thing I think is if you look at the old edition, if you were to play 550 up to 800, so Ashley Waldger, shout out,
Who's that?
would have taken Witch King Suladan at 550, and then to go up to 800, he would have probably dropped in Shadow Lord and Gorbag. Right? He could have scaled that list to go up. Now, yeah, and he still would have done just as well. I think he would have done well enough across those points levels.
Yeah.
Now, there are certain lists that aren't going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I do think there are lists that can do that though. And I think you're starting to see that slightly. And
yeah, there are. I
Army
think
of the White Hand is doing well across lots of points values. Men of the West and we've got Scouts done quite well across a lot.
I think there was to his point. I think with obviously having a faction and a alliance matrix, you were able to make a lot more work. Where now you've got to kind of find those lists that are more versatile.
There will be a harder drop off potentially because you can't just bolt and add. But yeah, no, I think it's still too early to tell actually how balanced everything is at the moment. I think because into the West there was really dominance of particular lists that did well. Obviously, that's lower points. It may be it's balanced at 600. It may be Will's thing and the fact Dale weren't there for external reasons. Like is the reason why we didn't see them dominating like they did sort of.
Wait, sorry, what was the thing that he changed about?
So Screech became 3 inches.
No, that was the Eagles. I thought he changed something about Dale as well.
No, it was just Dale work. Basically, I think people don't own and paint Dale, or they were using what they wanted out of the top players. You would normally assume who would do well anyway, because it is still more or less the same people are doing well.
Yeah.
I do have a theory as well. It's like I think towards the end of the last edition, the meta had been solved, and there were a lot more lists which were, to lack a better turn of phrase, point and click. Like you could turn up with a host of the Dragon Emperor.
What are you suggesting, Ali?
Unless if you're Elliot Schilling and do well with it. Or like AOL, like there's something on the floor, and it was pretty easy to figure out and use to a certain level. Like it would give you a bump up. I don't think those lists are there, and I don't think the rules exist for it at the moment.
Just wait until the Armies of Middle Earth rulebook. Dragon Emperor's coming to you soon. I think we spoke about this on the preview for Ali and Ben who weren't there. Do you guys think the Dragon Emperor is going to be nerfed?
I think it's already nerfed because of the changes in the rules.
Oh no, did I say that on the emergency pod? I might have said that on the emergency pod.
I don't know.
You were there, Ali. But Ben, you definitely weren't there. So you think
I think the rules as it stands, if it was to come back as it was in the last edition, it would not be as good. Because the things that destroyed the Dragon Emperor in the last edition were monsters and big all hero armies. Things that the troops couldn't outgrind. Whereas now, unless there's like something special with the phalanx, as soon as a troll goes in to the phalanx, he'll just go barge, and then potentially 4 models will make way. Because obviously, you make the spears make way, and then the one behind the spears make way. So the whole phalanx, you just go pivot, split, and the troll just goes cool, Emperor squash.
The new monster thing as well, like the fear supports and stuff like that.
I was gonna say it could. The monsters could make an absolute mess of the phalanx.
Yeah.
There's more like hero heavy lists.
Yeah, that could just jump through.
That can
increase
come
in
through and
fight
chomp
value
through.
And
So I think already it's not that going to be that good. Okay. I wouldn't imagine the Emperor to go up in fight value. I'd expect him to stay 6 because he's not really.
I think there'll be more things that can outfight them. I wouldn't be surprised if the Emperor Buff, rather than being +1 fight value, was like bottom his banner, so you win the tie.
Oh
People say
yeah,
that's like
I actually could see that. Yeah, I said that I thought it will be nerfed. Something in the profile will be nerfed in some regard from how it was previously. I don't know what they do, but I think something would have been made slightly worse.
I think all you need to do is remove like one of the rules or reduce the range. Like make the range of the banner 6 inches.
Even if it's something small like the resistance to magic, just like something, I think they're going to make slightly worse.
I also do like how you co-opted the event review pods to talk about how sad you are if the Dragon Emperor gets nerfed.
I don't use the Dragon Emperor. What are you on about?
No, you've never used it.
Not in a box over there.
But actually linking that to the meta, it would be interesting when that book comes out because I bet you it's gonna be as soon as people go, oh cool, we've worked out what the meta is and what's good. They'll be like, and here's like an extra like vampy army for you to
have a go with. So obviously, things all the pool will be increased, right? So people are going to start to get somewhat used to what's happening now, and then obviously there's going to be more armies thrown into the mix to spice things up. And that's what you were saying, Adam. Kind of, we have enough at the moment to get our teeth sunk into, and then when the armies book comes out, however long down the line, then it's like a little refresh, right? A little reboot.
I actually think we don't need the armies book. Whoa, as quickly as everyone makes out.
Oh, you're on the same wavelength as Adam there.
I completely agree.
I think we need the scenario book first.
No, we were saying there was actually someone who agreed, I'm pretty sure, in the comments on the previous video with you, Adam. They were like, yeah, spot on for this, and this reason.
Give that man a beer. They're right.
I mean, without giving a sense of unity, I do also understand why people need the armies.
Look at Ali just tagging on to now. Now it's cool.
It's there going because if you have an army and you only use armies which do not exist at the moment, you're kind of not able to play the game, or you have to buy a whole new army, which is a bit sucky. Well, very sucky if you're one of those people. So that if in a vacuum. Yes, like we could probably go another year without the armies book, but we don't live in a vacuum, and there will be lots of people who are missing out on the games.
I'm just really hoping that maybe fiefdoms are going to be good because the new Imrahil model and the 12 Forge World Knights that I have, I can finally paint and use.
Always could use them.
That would be nice.
It's just you wanting to actually try and win a game.
I can't use them right now, though, can I?
No.
That's the point. There we
go.
You
can paint them in preparation.
I could, but then if they're arse cheeks, like all the Royal Guard I painted for Army of Edoras that I have not used yet. There we go. But Men of the West are good, which is I can use my right hand for that. So I guess we should maybe going back to the event, talk about Matt's list that won the event.
Yeah, the top 2 list.
Top 2 lists, yes. So starting with Matt Light, so one of the 7th City Crusaders, although they're not the same. Are they team?
He's teamless this year. He's going solo. Yeah.
Not
so. If you want to leave the team, we
pardon
myself.
And then there's a spot for Matt Light. Okay. So Matt, obviously very seasoned player. He's featured on one of our live streams as well that you can check out. If you haven't seen our event live streams, go and check them out on the channel. A lot of work went into those. So go check those out. But yes, Matt Light, he took a Depths of Moria list, 600 points with 74. 74 models. He had 6 warbands, all led by Moria Goblin captains, 40 points. 3 of them had bows, and then just a load of goblins with shields, spears, and bows. 74 models, 600 points. So did either of you two play, Matt?
I had the pleasure, in brackets, of playing Destroy the Supplies. Matt's lovely. It's not I'm not
what were you insinuating there, Ben?
No. Huh? I'm insinuating what I'm about to gripe about. I played Matt in Destroy Supplies. Matt just walked up. He didn't bother marching because he was like, don't need to. Marched up, and I shot.
How many bows did you have, sorry, Ben?
I had
12.
I think 12 bows plus Haldir.
Okay. Sure.
And then I had another 11 or something thrown weapons. So I had a few turns of doing some good damage. I'd shot over 25 before our lines had clashed.
Wait, you killed 25 before?
25 in shooting.
That's lit.
I know, it's lit. And then you go, cool, how much do I need to break you? Another 20 or whatever it was, ridiculous. 18, something like that.
Yeah, so you're going to lose some elves along the way, like, yeah.
And then you go, cool, right, here's my elf army against his goblin army. He's got 3 dice. I've got 2 dice, or maybe even 1 dice because my banner's not battlefield wide.
Yeah.
And the numbers just crushed my elves. But you go, right, you shot 25 out because of the power of his list is the fact that it can absorb that many hits.
That was without him marching.
That was without him marching. So it must have been 6, 7, 8 turns.
Was that what did he think he needed the might?
He just kept the marks. He's like, I'll just keep it to kill an elf or 2. Or to call the moves to claim the objectives because I couldn't spread myself far enough. I couldn't send anything round the flanks because his line basically filled the board.
Yeah.
But that the power of his list was the fact that he could absorb so much damage.
Yeah, and just not that much.
And like I watched him playing Cal like with the Fangorn in whole ground, and he was able to swarm around the Ents, and the Ents were bashing the goblins, and obviously over 2 hours, Cal killed enough of the goblins. It was very close, I think, by the end.
Yeah. So it was actually the game random ending. Like, I wouldn't say saved Matt. I think it ended on the first turn.
It did. And if it kept going, it could have gone wrong for him.
2 turns, it would have been, who knows, 3 turns, it would have been Callum. Calman would have won that game. That was probably up until the final Matt's hardest game that I saw anyway. Apologies to anyone who maybe almost beat him that I didn't see. But yeah, Matt basically took the ultimate horde and won the event. So numbers do well.
We've always, people know, model count's very important sort of thing. It's kind of, been a general rule for quite a long time that, high model count lists do pretty well. But if you go all in, like...
the board-wide banner, because that's the army bonus.
Yeah, does it not? Like, that is a huge benefit.
Yeah, it makes quite a big difference in a lot of these scenarios as well, just because it's like every model is shield. Sort of kind of thing, so it's just hard.
And you also have Courage 3 everywhere. That is really good. I use that list against Fangorn the other day. And if you just position the spears right, and you create lanes, they can literally queue up to go in.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll go. Oh no, I'll go. Okay, off you go, mate. Then you've got another 8 warrior goblins to try. And then as soon as you got 6 with spear supports, anytime you get the 6 and they don't, you're probably doing a wound to an end, maybe 2. Just keep going. And it's that Courage 3. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Are there any other bonuses from the list that it gets? It gets the Courage.
Yeah, the opponent has -1 Courage. So the Warhorn in itself, the +1 and the -1, I think that's already enough.
Great. That's
Let alone the whole field.
So it's a battlefield wide +1 -1 Courage as well.
Yeah,
battlefield wide as well. Yeah, super good.
I do think this is a list which, and as Adam alluded to, it's a points value this works at. Once you get to 700 points, people can start dealing with those numbers better, and their own numbers will go up.
Also, it's a terrain thing.
Yeah.
What is the terrain inspector's view on that?
Well, I'm just saying, if you can wrap and trap, this list is phenomenal. But if there are...
if you can wedge between two points, you can't...
If you're playing in the UK, that is maybe...
It's not a country thing. I mean, if you're playing in Australia, then this would rock. But
it depends. I've seen some of the Australian boards recently.
Just a disclaimer.
I'm trying to cause controversy, Adam. Okay.
I've been to Australia. Wonderful country. I've never played MESBG there. But
you never played MESBG
some of the pictures, it looks like some of the boards are a bit.
Sometimes I'm not sure if their players have either.
We'll have to go on a Gollum's Gamers trip down under, eh?
We cracked them up at Ardcon last year. So.
That's it. Yeah, sent them home.
We've got the GHO Ashes, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, fine. Lovely. Okay, so that's Matt's winning list. Very well done to Matt. And then once again, we had the Army of the White Hand coming second by none other than Dave Farmer once again. So we've spoken about him a fair amount on our MESBG monthly episodes. If you're new, if you haven't seen much of our content before, we do a monthly series called MESBG Monthly, where we aim to update you on sort of all the relevant things happening in the GBHL, in MESBG as a whole. So we talk about like the recent tournament events, tournament results and things. And yeah, this is the third event that Farmer's podiumed with Army of the White Hand. Third 100.
Correct?
I think he's podiumed 2, and then
he won still. He was second at this one. Did he?
I thought he podiumed another one, and then he also podiumed with Men of the West.
Possibly.
I think.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
And there was a City of Steel with Army of the White Hand, and that wasn't the first one. I thought
he's won 2.
That was the first one he took.
I can't remember what he took.
Because he won with Men of the West, he won with Army of the White Hand, and then I thought he came like second or third with it somewhere else.
Yeah, he came second at this one with it.
Okay, fine. I thought that was another one.
Jacob has recently also podiumed but won with it.
Okay, so it's his second event then with Army of the White Hand, sure. So,
well, we'll find out anyway. I'm sure he'll close.
So City Steel was 700, and obviously this is at 600. So, what were kind of the differences in his list?
So I played him twice. I also lost 2 times at the weekend, and both of them were to Farmer. So, basically, to give you guys credit in the preview, when you rated this as the best list, I still think it was the best list at the event, especially in the hands of a good player.
Yeah.
Vince didn't get to the top 16. He podiumed in the sort of, I don't know what you want to call pod 2.
Pod 2.
Yeah. So he did reasonably well with it anyway, although not quite as well as Farmer, obviously. But yeah, it's a horde list, but it also has the lightning and the moving spell from Saruman and Grima, and just Saruman being able to shut down stuff gives him all of the tools he needs to deal with the elite lists, which some of the other horde lists don't have. So, for example, with my list where I've got an elite army with the 2 hitty heroes, Grima can limit my ability to use might to sort of influence the game, and then Saruman can shut down for him for about 70% of the combat, which suddenly means I'm relying on just Gloin, who can't direct combat really or do much to break through the line. And that's why, we played him in Recon and I played him in Domination, and Domination didn't go well. Recon, he had an instant lead because of Grima, and he got a couple models off the board. And we basically accepted I lost the game, and I was playing to minimize points to basically try and qualify for the top 16, which obviously I did. I actually wasn't that far off by accident. I say accidentally, but nearly drawing the game because I just death balled up into him. And I think we worked out something like if Foreign had resisted a transfix and then I'd won a roll off or 2, I would have been able to get him off the board to join the game for me. It was kind of irrelevant anyway because we both qualified for the top 16. But it was definitely, it's a list which was the only one out of the weekend I came up against. I was like, I genuinely don't know without relying on good dice rolls how I can beat this.
I really want to play this Army of the White Hand list because we've spoken on the pod previously on how it sort of lulls you into thinking, oh, this isn't that good.
If you can get at it, it is very. It does die. I
want to play it to see what it. But it does die. Okay.
Yeah. So the problem I had is the lightning in both our games killed something like 4 models, which when I'm already down 13, 15 models, we're suddenly down nearly 20 models, and then it's just like I'm playing a horde normally in a slightly unfavorable scenario, and so you're just up against it. So yeah, it's got everything you would probably want in the hands of a good player anyway.
Yeah.
To control the game and be able to win.
Yeah. Did you play Farmer at all, Ben?
Yeah, I also had the pleasure of playing Farmer again in Destroy the Supplies.
Matt and Dave,
both in Destroy the Supplies. Again, I shot quite a lot of Dave's models out from underneath him. It was probably around 15-ish, something like that. I don't know. It was a fair chunk.
It's pretty good
because Grima burnt an objective. I was already pretty low down. Lightning had taken out a few. I couldn't deploy where he couldn't kill like 3 or 4 of my models because you've got to stay within 6 of your hero when you deploy and that.
Yeah.
whatever 4-inch range, essentially.
Yeah.
2-inch range, can't remember which one it is, but it's enough to get to them all. You can't spread them out, so couldn't really avoid that unless you want to call a move next to Grima just to make them all spread out, and then still got to stay within 6 inches anyway. So it was really hard.
Grima is so broken in a lot of these scenarios. Just giving you because it makes it so hard to protect your supplies and recon. It's like he can just run off the ball.
So talking about the scenarios sort of briefly, today, so when we're recording this was when they put up the latest article on Warhammer Community, like the narrative scenarios one for like the 2 towers. And a viewer, shout out to Nathan, actually messaged me on Facebook with like a link to the article saying like emergency pod time, and it was from like it was a screenshot of like the Warhammer Instagram where it said like scenarios or something. So I thought it was news on the match play guide. So I was like really hyped. I was like, oh my god, where's the article? Because I couldn't see it. But obviously it was just the narrative scenarios. But you know, we're looking for news on the match play guide sort of as soon as, because maybe, you know, obviously Greenman's super good now, but you know, we're hoping there's going to be at least 6 new scenarios and then some of the returning ones as well, I guess, from the previous match play guide. So obviously there could be a huge injection of new scenarios, which will obviously change things up in a huge way.
The Army of the White Hand, it's a bit like Dale is at the moment. The 6 scenarios are really, really good for that army.
Yeah.
If some of the old scenarios come back, which I reckon all of the 12 others will come back with just different point limits, all probably points.
So do you think there are going to be any new ones?
No.
Oh, if they don't bring out 6 new scenarios, I'm going to be pissed. Or 3.
No, those 6 other scenarios, they're going to be the doubles. So the 24 scenarios are going to be the 24 we have this time, with just tweaks, I reckon, and they're just going to be tweaks for break and leader wounds, etc.
No.
But to be honest, there's only a certain amount of like variation you can do.
When did the match play guide come out? 5 years ago.
Yeah,
I know Jay Clare listens to this podcast. There had better be some new scenarios.
He doesn't listen this far into the podcast.
You what?
He won't listen this one.
Maybe not. Fine. A GP review, but sure. There will be. I'm hoping.
Yeah, no. As Ben says, the scenarios do favour it. Interestingly, Farmat actually went undefeated at the weekend.
You went what? Sorry.
Undefeated at the weekend.
Oh, really?
Oh. So him and Matt drew their last game, and then
a draw. You say?
Yeah. Okay. And then to decide the winner, it then goes to the points you killed in that game, which Matt then won on because goblins generally aren't worth that many points. Farmat was literally only a little bit off winning the event realistically, and then only didn't win it because of the event format, arguably.
Sure. I actually did some checking. So Farmer did podium another 100, but with Men of the West. So he's podium 2 with Men of the West and 2 with Army of the White Hand. I wasn't making it up.
Just a good player though.
So yeah, sure. He is. He knows what he's doing. Another podium for Farmer with Army of the White Hand. I wanted to sort of, just going back briefly to the top 15 lists, there was just a couple I wanted to sort of like touch on. Like the Battle of the 5 Armies came 4th.
I played that one.
Did you play that? I mean, I was just surprised to, you know, a 25 model list. So it was made up of Barlin, some Iron Hills Dwarves with a banner as well, Guahir, Leggy, a Mirkwood Knight, and some elves. There's 12 elves in there. How many bows? There's 6 bows, I think.
Yeah, there's a smattering.
4 bows, right? Yeah, so 25 models, you know, Barling, Guahir, Leggy, essentially dwarves and elves. So like a solid battle line, some good heroes. So what did you play it in, Ali? How'd it go?
So I played it in Fog of War. I ended up winning it semi-comfortably. It got a bit closer than I would have liked because this was the one game when my heroes flubbed it a bit. So I actually had to use my model count. But no, it kind of demonstrates how good one Guard is.
Mm.
And the fact that dwarf supported by elves is a really, really nails battle line.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to how his other game went. The guy who's using it, I forgot his name, what was it?
Tom.
Tom. I
Yeah.
think he's fairly new to the game.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure who it was, but coming forth.
Yeah, competitive stuff. And like from my observation, he's got a lot of natural ability in knowing how to position models and sort of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So is I played two actually, but not 5 army lists.
Okay.
One had an extra eagle and Dane instead of like other stuff. But yeah, no, it's you've got really solid center, and then you've got a wild card and Guai.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to break through those dwarves and were picked up by the elves.
Yeah.
When Guai could jump around. I think the list maybe could have been optimized slightly. I know why he took Barlin. Like the prior TV roles in some games didn't really well. Don't think it really helped in our game. But yeah, it's one. I was surprised the list did as well as it did, but maybe not as much because I think he's a pretty solid player.
Yeah, but like 25 models seems really low for 600, especially in this new edition. Obviously, the heroes are great and everything. Leggy was on foot. This was before the. I know this. The FAQ was. Did that come out?
He was on foot.
I think he was maybe just after the FAQ, after the GP.
Just before. Yeah, either way.
But yeah, so he was
on. Having to drop more model count. One thing I will say about that, the Elven Glaive are really good and really annoying.
We talked about it before. Yeah, they're super good.
Because I thought I was going to smash through it, and then I just didn't because he kept on "Oh, I used 2 nice to win this combat," and they just held me up like massively and stuff like that.
Yeah. Super strong battle line. So and you've got decent heroes. So as long as you can kind of hold the line, I guess. It can do well. So just not something I expected to see at 600 coming forth at UHR 100.
I think a lot of it is people can't deal with here at that points level.
Yeah, sure.
And the battle line.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then there was one other as well, which I found was the Shadows of Angmar list. I had to sort of look at that and see sort of what exactly it was. I mean, it came 8th, so it did well. So Shadows of Angmar, so it's led by the Shadow of Rudar, which I was like, okay. And he's got I think he's got 7 werewolves, 7 specters. So it's the Shadow of Rudar, 2 Barrow Whites, and an Angmar Orc Captain. He's got like 2 Wild Riders in there as well. So it's 26 models. So again, fairly sort of low. Triple caster. And to come 8th, that's a really solid showing for a list. Like, I don't actually know what the special rules are for the list. Do you guys know what the special rules are for the Shadows of Angmar? No. So did either of you play it? No.
No, but I can have a guess as to why it did really well. I reckon the scenarios really favoured it because we kept getting the set on day 2. We kept getting the same few scenarios.
Sure,
so the pool we were choosing from, as proven by the fact that I played Destroy the Splice so many times, it kept being the same, like 2 or 3, and they were the manoeuvring ones. It wasn't really the killing one, or like domination only came twice, I think. So if he was able to play things like the Destroy the Supplies, like Recon, which came up for the games, that list is very good at those because it's got the fast model. It can send them off, collect the objectives. Low model count, it can then die if it needs to or not. It's also got it's got a lot of push and pull with the specters and the casters to like shut down the heroes and like get things where that player wants them. So quite a lot of control as well. So if it had played the maneuvering scenarios, it probably would have done really well.
Yeah, and I guess obviously he's invested quite a lot of points as well into the into all the werewolves and things. Could have had a higher
really good,
but obviously the werewolves are super good. So the special rule, so it has the terror sort of rule, the 3-inch that Angmar had as the army bonus in the previous edition. For any spirit models, getting the Stalk Unseen special rule, and then sense of hopelessness. If an enemy hero is slain in combat, then for the duration of the following turn, all enemy models suffer a -1 penalty to any courage test. So nothing really. This is the list that you can take Gullivar in, but obviously he's just decided to lead it with the Shadow.
Gullivar, just as a note, did have a 12-inch move gifted to him.
Oh yeah, for
in the event.
Gifted, yeah, but not in the FAQ though. But
yeah. Well, he's not losing leader VPs there because his leader's visible unless he's charging something that's paralyzed.
I just wonder, like, did the paralyze? Oh yeah, because hasn't the paralyze? Is it
paralyze a 3+ now? I think
3 up now. Sure, so maybe the paralyze, like maybe.
And if they play if they played the Battle of 5 Armies list, he'll have destroyed that list.
Yeah,
he just hides all the heroes. In goes.
We find out he played it a lot.
Pardon?
Now we find out he played it a lot.
Yeah, but if he played armies like that with centerpieces, he can easily get rid of them because the whales are so high strength. As soon as they go into anything which is paralyzed, take off the board.
Yeah, because like what he spent what 175 points on 7 werewolves, so he's really gone in on that. I guess if he's shutting down the heroes, the werewolves don't need to be that worried about too much, so they're just going in and attacking the army, with the knockdown and things. So, I just thought coming 8th, they were just 2 lists that I thought,
there's one which I was quite interested by that I played, which was the Realms of Men list. So it was 2 kings and a captain.
I saw that Clubly won a 90 with the Realms of Men. I think that was at 600 recently.
So that was one that we picked out, at least I did, sort of when we were looking at.
Sorry, what do you say?
The Realms of Men was one that I picked out as a list to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it was quite scary facing it. I think I played second game day 2. Destroy the supplies, as is the running theme for me and Ben.
I played it Destroy the Supplies as well.
Yeah. What was the list? What was the makeup of it?
So there's 2 Kings of Men, 1 Captain of Arnon, and then it was about 42 models ish.
Yeah, there's another Horde army.
Yeah.
There was 2 kings and a captain.
Yeah. I know.
But what factions? You said one was Arnor.
The other one Gondor.
Oh.
Yeah, because it
was Numenor.
Numenor for the Fight 5.
Yeah. Because that was Rangers, and I was thinking Gondor Rangers, but no, Arnor Rangers. I was a bit concerned, but I can see why it did well in his other games. The problem is when he came up against me, is he couldn't kill me, and I could kill him. Yeah. And I think this was the game where Gloin and Thorin really showed their ability, because I think turn 1 of combat, I'd killed 7 models with them. Turn 2, I'd killed like another 5 or 6.
Yeah, and if you're not killing many dwarves, but like from his point of view, I guess like lots of armies might fall into this sort of category where you're like, oh, okay, I've got some higher fight troops, I've got some strength 4 in there, but obviously then when you face dwarves, the troops still aren't really good enough to deal with them. So
it wasn't just that; there was a big might deficit. So he used might to march up the board, and then he only has 4.
Right.
Versus then my 8 and my 3 combat.
Yeah.
And then when I killed his heroes, I then got might back. So it basically meant that I could control the game and keep it happening where I wanted it to. Yeah. I did that to quite a few lists over the weekend. It's like the end game for my dwarf list was really good. But on the actual Realms of Men list, I can see why it did well. I think it possibly just didn't have enough tricks when it came up against something a bit more left field, maybe you could say, like my list.
Yeah, quite static. But although I like there's a really wide range of like troop choices you can take across all of the different kings. Like the Gondor one, for example, it can lead like 6 or 7 different troop choices, I think, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it just lacked a little bit of killing power. Because so if you go up to 650 points, you can probably mount one of the kings, and you can get a few other things, and then it'll be better.
Well, so I was just saying about Clubly's list. So yeah, I think it was a 90 that he won, or he podiumed or something at 600, and he had just 2 kings, both mounted. So with the horse, lance, shield, heavy armor. So 2 of them fight 6 on the charge. They can get some pretty decent sort of killing output with that, and obviously against something like the dwarves, that would have been really, really good. So. Yeah. Any other lists or anything, or notes, I guess, from Ali or Ben? Because you guys were at the event.
Give a shout out to Ugluk Scouts. I played one list of it. I think it was really strong.
Was that the top pod?
So I played in game
James C.
One.
Shout out James
Yeah.
C, maybe.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I only really won that game. The way he could get +2 to win against me, I was a bit scared. But
49
I,
models, is it? Jeez.
yeah.
That's pretty.
I managed, so I played them to the death. I managed to use the heroic march in charge perfectly.
I was actually going to ask about that a second ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find that was pretty?
Well, it was amazing, genuinely.
Okay.
In this game particularly, it won me the game. So he had a banner I didn't. To the death. I'm at a loss at the moment.
Yeah.
I've managed to. He sort of spread his line out to try and drown me, but there's a building there. There's a situation where I've called a heroic march and I have priority, and he's kind of his heroes. He's managed to place some of his heroes so they're not in range of each other for the heroic move.
Yeah.
And so he does it just with one, who are the main guys that I was now in range of, and then ran away. And originally my plan was, cool, I can then charge the ones which are coming behind, hopefully kill the bulk of his own guy before the game ends. What I realized is he'd accidentally left Ugluk in range of Gloin because of the 8-inch march.
Oh, yeah.
So I literally just launched Gloin into Ugluk and then burnt all my might and killed him, which suddenly just turned the game on its head, and he was now chasing, and I had a lead to protect. But I wouldn't have been able to do that without her much.
Yeah. You see quite a lot sometimes where like people leave things out of range to charge, right? You go out of 6 or whatever, but then you forget the range with the march, and then like a compel or something. Like, yeah, you see it quite a lot.
Yeah, essentially, because I got rid of that extra +1 per wound, unless he could get it, then meant it was harder for him to kill my army, and he was chasing the game, which is a much better position than having to try and chase.
Yeah. I hope to be there next year. I must say, we were going to stream the event, but we didn't stream it in the end. I went on holiday, so hopefully next year.
Winning holidays.
You are?
Winning holidays.
Yes. My girlfriend is very good at winning things, folks. So that is why I went away. But yeah. So
Emperor army coming around the corner, hasn't
she? Well, so she's got an emperor army
to use instead.
We don't need to win an emperor army, baby. We fucking got one ready to go. But yeah, I think that'll close us out. So that'll do it. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching another episode of the Gollum's Gamers podcast.